Good afternoon. So welcome back to revision series of CA Sri Lanka. I am Dimuthu Suranjana. I am conducting the strategic management and leadership sessions for you. We have already done 2 sessions and we have discussed questions from topic number 1 and the topic number 2 mainly. For an example, in our first discussions, we discussed about levels of a business. Then we discussed about strategic management process. At the same time, we discussed some question relevant to that. So today is my session number 3. Actually, this revision series includes 10 sessions, but due to this pandemic problems, actually pandemic situations, we were not able to cover most of the sessions, and today we are going to have the session number 3. So in today session number 3 and 4, actually I am planning to cover. Within that I am going to cover some question relevant to internal environment analysis, then external environment analysis, ethics, CSR and stakeholders, and finally the corporate appraisal. Under the corporate appraisal, we will mainly look at about some question relevant to the SWOT analysis plus critical success factors, CSF. So those are the areas I am going to focus today. So we'll look at about some questions. As you are aware that I am normally discuss the question in the revision case. Actually, the theory part is covered full in last sessions. If you go to CA Sri Lanka YouTube channel, you can find out all the respective videos regarding the theory part. So here we are not going to discuss the theory at all. So here my task is to discuss the questions. So in revision kits, the last time when we met, we discussed question number 1. You may remember that. So within that, actually we try to identify the levels of a business. That was the main thing we have done. So I will show you the questions to you. Give me a few seconds. So these questions, question number 1, we discussed question number 1 last time when we met. Then we discussed question number 2, question number 3, then we discussed the question number 5. Within the question number 5, we discussed the product life cycle concept, PLC concept. So today I am going to start my session with question number 7. Question number 7, within the question number 7, we are going to discuss a question related with the value chain. So what we are going to do is we are going to discuss a question related with the value chain. So first of all, I will have a brief introduction about what is value chain and how can we use value chain for organizational activities. After that, I will try to analyze the given scenario with you. Right. If you remember what is value chain. We discuss value chain in strategic position analysis. So, in other words, under the internal environment analysis, I hope right. So, you remember what is value chain. If you look at about the value chain, so value chain refers to activities within an organization that add value to purchase input of material. So, what is value chain? Activities within an organization that add value to purchase input of material. Or in other words, value chain describe value creating activities of an organizations. So, within the value chain, we are trying to identify value creating activities of the organizations. If you look at about different value creating activities in organizations, there is no uniform set of activities which can be used for all the organizations. What can we see is value creating activities differ from one organization to another. Especially, we can identify a significant difference, among the industries. For an example, service industries like banks value chain will be significantly different from biscuit company, which is normally identified as a manufacturing business. So, within our syllabus, what we are doing, so we are trying to discuss some common activities related to organizations. To identify some of the commonly identified activities, we are using the value chain model introduced by Michael Porter. We are using the value chain model used by the or introduced by the Michael Porter. So, within the theory discussion, actually we discuss this one in details. So, here my task is not to discuss them in detail. If you want to get a more understanding on the value chain, what you can do is you can go and check the theory video related to this, right. But I will explain this one in summary form. I will try to identify in nutshell. So, according to Michael Porter's value chain, there are two types of activities. What are the two types of activities we can identify in the Michael Porter's value chain model? One is primary activities, other one is supporting activities. What is primary activities? Activities directly involved in the manufacturing of goods or services, normally we call it as primary activities. They have a direct relationship with the manufacturing of goods or services. So, within the Michael Porter's value chain model, we can identify 5 primary activities: inbound logistic, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, then service. Actually, there are some relationship exist among these activities. Normally, these activities take place in sequential order. In other words, one activity follow another activity. First of all, inbound logistic activity is taken place. After the inbound logistic activity, we can identify the operation activity, then outbound logistic, marketing and sales, then the service activity. Then what is supporting activities? This provides support for the primary activities in the value chain. They are not directly involved in the manufacturing process. Instead, they help to the primary activities in the value chain. For an example, they may help to operation activity, or they may help to marketing and sales activity, or they may help to inbound logistic activity, like that. So, according to Michael Porter, there are 4 support activities. What are those 4 support activities? Procurement, technology development, HR management, then firm infrastructure. So, in addition to primary activities and support activities, there is another part, that is margin. What is margin? Margin is the difference between selling price and the cost. So, margin is the difference between selling price and the cost. Right. So, I will quickly look at about each activities in the value chain also. The first one is inbound logistic. Here we discuss about something which come into the organizations. Normally what come into the organizations? Normally raw material come into the organizations. So, under the inbound logistic, we can identify 3 main activities. 3 main activities. What are 3 main activities we can identify? Receiving raw material into the organizations, storing them and issuing them to the production work. Receiving raw material into the organizations, storing them in warehouse and issuing them to the production work. So, I am not going to I am not going to explain example related with that. So, you can refer the theory video if you want to get more informations. Then operations, what is operations? This is the manufacturing work of the organizations where input is converted into output. We may use machine, we may get the assistance of labor by using labor, then other resources we are going to convert raw material into a finished good under the operation activity. Then under the outbound logistic, we are discussing something going out from the organizations. So, what are the things which going out from the organizations? Normally the finished goods. Until customers demand goods, we have to keep them in a warehouse. For an example, what we will do is we will keep the finished good in warehouse, right, in finished good warehouse, right. Then the first sub activity take place under the outbound logistic, where what you are going to do is you are going to keep finished good in the warehouse. Then the next thing is issuing them to the customers. The next things, issuing them to the customers. Then the fourth activity is marketing and sales. This refers to activities associated with informing customers about the goods and services and persuading them to buy the goods and services. For an example, sales promotion activities or advertising activities. Then service. What is service? After sales activities we identify as a service. For an example, warranty and guarantee. Or customer care center activities. For an example, when there is a problem associated with the product, you can call and get the required clarification from that call center people. Then the support activities, if you look at the support activities, the first one is procurement activity. What is procurement? Activities related with purchasing of raw material and other item we identify as a procurement activity. Activities related with purchasing of raw material and other item we identify as a procurement activity. For an example, calling quotation from suppliers, evaluate those quotations and select the best supplier can be considered as a procurement activity. Then technology development, activities related with the technologies we identify as technology development activity. For an example, activities related with R&D, that means research and development, and IT divisions come under technology development. Then human resource management activity. What is human resource management? Recruiting talented individuals into the organizations, develop them and retain them can be considered as a human resource management activities. For an example, recruitment and selection of employees, performance management, discipline management come under this. Then firm infrastructure, I always prefer to have a very simple definition related with the firm infrastructure. Any activity which is not covered from other activities in the value chain, we identify as a firm infrastructure activity. These are normally related with planning, quality control, finance, general administrations. Your function is come under this. Your function is finance, no? Finance come under firm infrastructure activity. Right. I hope you you have got some basic understanding about what is value chain now, and now you are in a position to answer the questions. So, we will look at about the questions given also. So, I am going to discuss the question number 7 in your study text, chain Cox value chain, question number 7. So, look at the requirement of the questions. Analyze the existing value chain using it to highlight areas of weakness at chain Cox direct. Analyze the existing value chain. Explain in details when you say analyze. Analyze the existing value chain using it to highlight areas of weaknesses at chain Cox direct. So, you have to identify the weaknesses exist at this particular organizations. So, this is application questions. How many marks are given for this? 10 marks are given for this particular questions. So, now in practice what you have to do is, here I am not going to allocate time for you to do the questions. So, what you do is, you stop the video from this particular point, then get some time. Since it has allocated 10 marks for these questions, you can spend around 18 minutes for these questions. You get 18, you spend 18 minutes, then write the answer, then come back to video again where I am discussing the questions. Right. So, we look at about the questions. What will be the approach when you are going to answer this type of questions? Whenever application is tested, there are two things you can do when you are constructing an answer. What are the two things you can do when you are constructing an answer? One thing is, you can explain theory a little bit, not in details, only the basic thing can be introduced. For an example here, you can define what is value chain and you can draw the value chain model. Then you can introduce primary and support activities. That's enough. So, we do not have much time to write theory here. We have only 18 minutes to do everything. Therefore, there is no requirement to look at about each value chain activities in details. That is not required here. Do not do that. If you do that, you can spend all 18 minutes for writing the theory without looking at the application side of the questions. Here the main part is to look at about the applications. Right. Here especially you have to highlight areas of weaknesses at chain Cox direct. So, we will look at about the questions. So Jane Cox Direct is a company that specializes in the production of bespoke sofas and chairs. What is bespoke? Bespoke mean so according to the customer specifications, they are going to make sofas and the chairs. Bespoke. Customer tell what type of sofas and chairs required for them. Then they are going to meet that particular requirement. Not a standard product. For an example, if you go to Damro, what you can see is you can buy a standard product. But here that is not the case. Here what you can do is you can, right, as a customer you can tell to this Jane Cox company, these are my requirement. To meet my requirement, make a products. They will do that. Definitely they may charge a price premium, that can happen, right. Jane Cox Direct is a company that specializes in the production of bespoke sofas and chairs at a cost that compares favorably with standard product available from high street retailers. If you look at the standard product prices available in the retailers, their price is reasonable. It sells furniture direct to the end customer. There are no intermediate parties. Its website allows customer to select every feature of the furniture from a wide number of options. So customer tell what type of product they need. A price is then given, and if this price is acceptable to the customer, then an order is placed and an estimated delivery date is given. So you give a date also. Most delivery dates are 10 weeks after the order has been placed. Normally they take around 10 weeks. For example, if you make a order first week of April, you will receive the product at the end of second week in June. This relatively long delivery time is unacceptable to some customers, and so they cancel the order immediately. This relatively long delivery time is unacceptable to some customers, and so they cancel the order immediately. So what happened for certain customers, delivery time is more than 10 weeks. That means some customer may get a lesser period. So normally customers are not willing to wait 2.5 months to get a product, no. So there may be very unsatisfied customer group. What they will do is they will cancel the order immediately, right. That is one thing which can happen, right. So that may be an weakness. There may be something wrong. We don't know the contributing factor. Maybe something wrong with the outbound logistic activity. Sometimes the delivery may not be on time. There may be delay in the delivery. For an example, recently I ordered goods from one of the supermarket. As per their promise, within 24 hours good will be delivered. But it took 3 days. Right, 3 days. Then I asked what was the issue. They say that there was an issue in the delivery channels. They have appointed few individuals to deliver the good, but they have lot of orders. As a result, they delayed. Then after some time again, when I ordered the good, I was surprised that I got the good within 6 hours. Then again I called and checked how they were able to deliver the good within 6 hours. Then they told me they changed the delivery method. They have appointed new party to deliver the goods. Right. So this may be due to that. Right. Sometime issue with that outbound logistic. Oh, this may be something, this may be an issue with the inbound logistic. We may not be able to get the required raw material on time. Or this may be an issue with the operations. From the operation activity, it can't deliver the product on time. Right. We'll look at the next thing also. Next para. Jane Cox direct orders wood, upholstery and textile from non-established suppliers. Look at that one. Jane Cox direct orders wood, upholstery and textile from non-established suppliers. So, we are using some non-established suppliers. That is good from the reliability part, but there may be some issue related with them. There is a saying like that, no? So, there may be certain things, certain problem associated with them. We will see. Purchase orders with suppliers are placed by the procurement sections. Procurement divisions make the orders. Purchase orders are emailed to suppliers. Recently, an expected order was not delivered because the supplier claimed that no email was received. This caused production delays. So, where is the issue? There is an inefficiency associated with the procurement section. Procurement activity is something wrong. So, what is the issue here actually? So, they have not double check it. So, normally when you have send an email, the next thing you can do is you can call the supplier and tell to the supplier that we have ordered some good and we send the order via email. You can get a confirmation whether you have received the email, just check and let me know. If not received, then again you can send an email. So, that part has not been done. So, weakness in the procurement area. The sofas and chairs are built in James Cox Direct's factory. Relatively high inventory levels and a relaxed production process mean that production is rarely disrupted. Sofas and chairs are built in James Cox Direct factory. Relatively high inventory levels and a relaxed production process mean that production is rarely disrupted. Look at that sentence carefully. If you look at the first sentence, there is no issue. The sofas and chairs are built in James Cox Direct factory, no issue, which is normally made within the factory. Relatively high inventory level and a relaxed production process mean a relatively high inventory level and a relaxed production process mean that, look at that, relatively high inventory level. Is that good? One can argue that lead for uninterrupted supply. Yes, that is true, but having high inventory cost to the organization. There are some inventory associated cost. So, high inventory level is cost to the organizations. So, it is something wrong with the inbound logistic activity. Another weakness, even though you have enough inventories and relaxed production process, It's very flexible production process, right? There is an issue they are stating. What is the issue? Despite this, the company is unable to meet 45% of the estimated delivery dates given when the order was placed due to the required good not being finished in time. Despite this, company is unable to meet 45% of the estimated delivery date given when the order was placed due to the required good not being finished in time. Being finished in time, not being finished in time, that indicate operation process is not efficient. There are some inefficiencies, weakness associated with the operation process. Consequently, a member of the sales team has to telephone the customer. Consequently, a member of the sales team has to telephone the customer and discuss an alternative delivery date. So again, sales team has to contact the customer and tell we are unable to deliver the date stated earlier, so we need more time, and provide an alternative delivery date. Telephoning the customer to change the delivery date is difficult and costly. Also, many customers are disappointed that the promised delivery date can no longer be met. Customer dissatisfactions. Customers often get less than 1 week notice of the new date, and so they have to defer delivery to later than the revised completion date. Customers often get less than 1 week notice of the new dates, and so they have to defer delivery to later than the revised completion date. This means that the goods have to remain in the warehouse for longer. So what customers tell, right, they want to deliver the good in a different date because of this sudden change. Until that, you have to keep the good in the warehouse. That lead for excessive finished good in the warehouse. So excessive finished good in the warehouse. Again, a weakness associated with outbound logistics activity. So we found weakness in relation to inbound logistic operation, now outbound logistic also. Then about 30% of the intended delivery do not take place because there is no one at the address to accept delivery. Consequently, furniture has to be returned and stored at the factory. A member of the sales staff will then negotiate a new delivery date, but again contacting the customer by telephone can be difficult and costly. See, 30% of the intended delivery do not take place because of unavailability of the customer in the given address on the date this company deliver. Again you have to go there, then no customer, then again you come back, again return, store, additional cost. Again you have to call and negotiate another date. Then something wrong with this service part also, delivery part. So we are not double checking with the customer. So before you deliver the good, you have to call them and check whether customer is available. If customer is not available, whether someone is available at home, whether that person is authorized to accept the good. So that has not been done. Then something wrong with this sales and delivery process. The company's original growth was primarily due to the innovative business idea behind specifying competitively priced bespoke furniture. The company's original growth was primarily due to the innovative business idea behind specific competitive price bespoke furniture. So, initially we enjoy the growth because of the innovative business idea. However, established rivals are now offering a similar service. In the face of this competition, the managing director of Jane Cox Direct has urged a thorough review of the supply chain. She feels that cost and unit level are too high and that the time taken from order delivery is too long. In a recent customer satisfaction survey, there was major criticism about the lack of information about the progress of the order after it was placed. When the managing director of Jane Cox Direct saw the result of the survey, she understood why our customer retention rate is so low. Right. So, we found so many issues with procurement, inbound logistic, operations, outbound logistic, marketing and sales, even service, right. We will see what examiner tell on this. What is his answer? Check in the answers. Look at the way that examiner has developed the answer. Right. If you look at about the first few paras, in first para he defined what is value chain. Then he explained what is margin, then he explained what is primary activities, then support activities. Now he is going to address each one, the weaknesses. Look at this inbound logistic. Inbound logistic relate to receiving, handling and storing of input to the production system. The input at JCD include wood, upholstery, textiles and other raw material, and the inbound logistic relate to storage and inventory of these items prior to their use in production. Now he explained the different type of input we purchase. Then he explained the weakness. A key weakness in this area of the value chain relate to the issues with the email purchase order system. At least one large order was not received due to a failure of this system. I identify this email problem. The supplier has not received some email sent, so that come under inbound logistic activity. The high level of inventory indicated in this scenario may indicate a further weakness, and the rationale for this should be investigation. Yes, high level of inventory. We also identify the same issue, right? There is something wrong with inbound logistic. Then operations. Operation relate to the processes of convert the resource input, including material and human resource, into finished product. You define what is that one. At JCD, this is the manufacturing processes used to make the furniture. JCD keep high level of inventory and run a relaxed and relatively undisturbed production process, yet they still fail to meet 45% of their estimated delivery date due to product running late. This could be caused by inefficiency in the production process, or simply be down to over-optimism quoting of delivery dates. So, this is one of the problem we also identify. There may be some inefficiency within the operation activity. Investigations into the cause of this failure should be carried out, as it cause increased administrative cost to be incurred, as well as causing disappointment and disruption to the customer. Then outbound logistic. Outbound logistic include the storing of the finished product. Example, the completed furniture and distributed to the customers. This will include the safe packaging of the furniture for transmitted delivering to the customer on the specified date. JCD has several weaknesses in this area, plus the failure of JCD to provide sufficient notice to customer for revised delivery date mean that customers have to defer this date yet further to a more suitable date. This causes their completed item furniture remain in storage longer than necessary, causing an increase in inventory holding costs. So this was identified by us also. Keeping good for further few dates within the store as a weakness. A second cause of increased storage requirement result from the return of delivery goods where no one was available to collect the delivery. This again causes an increase in the cost of holding inventory. So that is another issue. We are not delivering before delivering, we are not confirming whether customer is available at home or not. This again causes an increase in the cost of holding inventory as well as increase in both the administrative and transport costs, as the delivery date has to be once again rearranged. Then marketing and sales involve informing customer about the product, convincing them to buy and enabling them to do so. The main weakness here is that the website does not give any indication of the length of time a customer can expect to wait for their furniture to be delivered until after their order has been placed. It doesn't tell, within the website we doesn't tell how long customer want to wait. This result in a significant number of cancelled orders at this stage. This is like to leave the customer feeling frustrated with the company for wasting their time and are therefore unlikely to return to GST in the future. So that means now until customer finish the process, he doesn't know how long it will take to get the good. So at the final moment, he come to know that it takes 10 weeks. So that's not a good from marketing point of view. So the customer should be informed in advance. So within the website, tell how long it will take normally. We'll say like 3 weeks, 10 weeks should be informed in advance. Then customer can take a decision whether they want to proceed or not. Procurement and support activity is also relevant for JCD. This activity and the associated weaknesses are as follows. Procurement include all of the processes involved in acquiring the resource input to the primary activities. Example, purchase of materials, subcomponent and equipment. The effectiveness of these processes will have a significant impact on both the cost and the quality of the finished product. For JST, the price paid for the wood, textile and upholstery will have a direct effect on the cost charged for the final product. The company currently sources 95 of its wood from the 3 timber suppliers and the company has used the same supplier since its first year of business. I think that information was not there, no? So within the answer he has to include that one, but there was information within the question that was they are getting the supply from a particular supply group for long period of time. They are using the same supply group for so long period of time. So that can be considered as a weakness. Long-term relations such as this may mean, yes, they have mentioned that point. Long-term relations such as this may mean that JCD is no longer benefiting from the best prices due to the complacency and uncompetitiveness this may bring about in the suppliers. This should be further investigated to determine if savings could be made with alternative suppliers. Right. So this is another weakness. You get the good from the same supply, that is associated with the procurement activity. I think it's clear for you. I hope now you have good understanding about the questions. So we discuss question number 7. Then we can move to question number 8. So we'll come back. So we look at about the question number 8. So look at the requirement in the questions. Required, explain how F company can gain competitive advantage through its operations. Explain how F company can gain competitive advantage through its operations. There are few areas which are targeted by examiner. One area is the competitive advantage. That is one area. Then another area is based on the information given in the case. We'll go through the information given and try to understand what is the other area is focusing also. Look at the information given. If company is a medium-sized business that manufactures electrical kitchen appliances including food processors, toasters, juicers and coffee makers. In the last 12 months, the company has lost market share to its competitors and has underperformed on most of its key performance indicators. Now, they tell what type of business they are in, at the same time they tell what has happened in the past. So, they are not performing well. They have lost their market shares to competitors and not achieved the KPIs, key performance indicators set. Its future survival is threatened as new entrants are taking market share and the customers are demanding new product and design features. New entrants are taking market share and the customers are demanding new product and design features. Customers want new things. Percy, the company's management accountant, suggests that the company should assess how sustainable competitive advantage can be achieved through using its unique combination of resources, skill and capabilities. Now, what is the requirement of the management accountant here? He wants to evaluate the way the company can obtain sustainable competitive advantage using its unique combination of resources, skill and capabilities. By using the resources, skill and the capabilities, how can they obtain a competitive advantage? So, we will look at about the concept associated with this competitive advantage, sustainable competitive advantage, then use of the unique combination of resources, skill and capabilities, right. So, we will try to understand this principle a little bit. So, first of all, we will try to understand what is competitive advantage. In simple term, competitive advantage mean organization ability to perform better than others in the industry. I can say organizational ability to perform better than others in the industry, or you can call it as other players, we can identify as competitive advantage. So, you run extra mile compare with the other players in the industry. That is competitive advantage. How do we know that whether we are having a competitive advantage or not? You can look at about few variables. One variable is the sales income. Your sales income is more than others in the industry. Then the other variable is profit. Your profit is higher than others in the industry. These are two performance indicators which can be used to determine whether we have a competitive advantage or not. If our sales income is higher than others, or profit is higher than the others in the industry, that tell we perform better than the others. This is the first concept, competitive advantage. The second concept is, there is an additional word, sustainable competitive advantage. Sustainable competitive advantage. Here, sustainable competitive advantage means organization ability to perform better than others for a longer period. It's not a short term advantage. You will have the advantage for long period, long term. So, long term advantage. The third concept here tested is, here we want to ensure the sustainable competitive advantage through using it unique combination of, you want to get this one by using our resources, skills plus capabilities. Resources, skill, then capabilities. So, this is connected with the resource based view. Resource based view. So, what is resource based view? There is an approach which tell that a particular organization or an organization can obtain a competitive advantage by using the resources, skill and capabilities they have. By developing some resources, skills and capabilities others do not have, we can get a competitive advantage for the organizations. A competitive advantage can be obtained by using our internal resources, skill and the capabilities. You focused on that, you trust on your resources, skill and the capabilities. Through that, you get the required competitive advantage. There are some organizations, they have capitalized on this, they have used this. If you look at about the organization like Apple, Microsoft, Google, all these organizations have focused mainly on their resources. They try to get young talented individual into their organization. By using their abilities, they have achieved the success. For an example, they may come up with continuous innovations thanks to these young people's capabilities, brains, creativity. So these are the things that you have to highlight in your answer. Shall we look at about the answer also? Examiner's answer. See, this is resource-based approach. The resource-based approach to competitive advantage emphasize the possession of scarce resources and core competences by the organizations. Possessions of scarce resources and core competences. You know what is resources and competencies? Resources mean anything we use as input into the production process. Competences mean the way the activities are done are called competences. Resources, when resources are used in real environment, competencies are delivered. Core competencies mean activities which can provide a competitive advantage to the organizations. You have learned on that. The resource-based approach suggests that an effective strategy involves exploiting an organization's scarce or unique resources, skill and capabilities. Look at that one. The resource-based approach suggests that an effective strategy involves exploiting an organization's scarce or unique resources, skill and capabilities, using very limited unique resources and skill and capabilities, its core competencies, in order to gain competitive advantage. This approach lies behind the growing practice of outsourcing. Now this approach focusing on outsourcing also. The organization concentrate its effort on those part of its operation that no other organization can perform for it. Here the outsourcing mean, here what you are trying to do is, when you analyze the organizational activities, there may be certain activities which are critical in nature for the achievement of the success. At the same time, there may be certain activities which are not critical in nature to achieve the competitive advantage. Normally, when we are practicing the outsourcing, what is the approach? Are we going to outsource our critical activities? What is the answer? Answer is no. Normally, we are going to outsource non-critical activities of the organizations. So, non-critical activities of the organization will be outsourced. Then, when you have outsourced some less important activities to a third party, what the organization can do, they can more focused on the important activities. So, here what we try to do is, we are trying to more focused on the important activities by outsourcing some non-critical activities. This approach lies behind the growing practice of outsourcing. The organization's concentrates its effort on those parts of its operation that no other organization can perform for it. That means the critical activities. Resources may be obvious things such as favor access to a particular raw material or piece of legally protected intellectual property. They may also take less tangible forms such as well-known brand or in-house skill in electronic. These are some of the examples for resources. For instance, of design, if company may be able to utilize these ideas by emphasizing quality of innovation in its future operations. So, it is important to realize that it is possible to acquire or develop new competences, but this take time. The possession of a particular advantage thus constitutes a competitive advantage, but its validity may decline if other firms develop equivalent capability. This is a common thing. If others develop similar things, we will not be able to maintain the competitive advantage. Competences must therefore be developed and kept up to date on a continuing basis. So, competences must therefore be developed and kept up to date on a continuing basis. So, you have to do this one on a continuous basis. There is no end. Johnson, Scholars and Whittington define core competences as those that both outperform competitors and are difficult to imitate. Core competence mean things are helpful to defeat other players in the market and which are something which is difficult to copy also. But the resource based approach is not without its difficulties. So, what are the difficulties of resource based approach? A, core competences are difficult to identify and assess, are very difficult to identify and assess. A wrong appraisal could lead to the loss of wider competence or source of advantage by misdirected outsourcing. So, if you have identified activity as not important one and if you outsource that one, but in real environment it is important one, so that may lead to lose your competitive advantage. Attempt to apply core competences widely across a range of market and operation may make the firm vulnerable to more focused single market operations. So, attempt to apply core competences widely across a range of market and operation may make the firm vulnerable to more focused single market operations. So, what can happen if you try to use your core competencies for a broad market? There may be certain players, instead of focusing on broad market, they may focus on selected marketplace and they may capture some of your customers. That is another risk. Right. It's a small question, I think. You got an understanding about the key point related to the questions. So, we will look at about another questions. Right. I am moving to question number 10. OD company. So, what is the requirement here? Assess the power and interests of the different stakeholder group who are likely to be affected by the takeover bid. Assess the power and interest of the different stakeholder group who are likely to be affected by the takeover bid. So 10 mark questions. That means roughly you can spend 18 minutes for these questions. This question tests your knowledge on Mendelov matrix. Shall we look at about the Mendelov matrix in summary form? You may remember what is stakeholder mapping. To group stakeholders, we use the matrix developed by the Mendelov, or in other words, Mendelov matrix. There are two functions of the Mendelov matrix. The first function is to identify the stakeholder party in a particular category. Second one is identify the appropriate strategy that can be applied with that particular stakeholder party. So, there are two tasks related with the stakeholder mapping or Mendelov matrix. The first one is to categorize a particular stakeholders into a particular group. Second one is to decide the appropriate strategy for them. So, under the stakeholder mapping, the first scenario in Mendelov matrix, we are trying to categorize the stakeholders based on two variables. One is level of interest, other one is power. So, level of interest can be low or high. We are trying to identify two options under the level of interest. Then the power can also be low or high. The Mendelov matrix, by combining these two options under each variable, they identify four groups. First group is low group, power low, interest is also low. We can call it as category A. Then the second group is category B. Power is low, but level of interest is high, that is category B. Then category C, level of interest is low, power is high. Then category D, we call them as key player because level of interest is high, at the same time power is also high. Here category A mean they are not much interested about the business activities. At the same time, they don't have much power to influence the business activities also. Look at the category B, they don't have much power, but their interest is high. That means they are more concerning about the business activities. They are more worrying about what is happening within the business. Then category C, level of interest is low but power is high. They are not much worrying about the business activities, but they have power. Category C. Therefore, always you have to manage this group very carefully. Why? At any time they can increase their interest and can move to the category D and can become a key player. Then category D, level of interest is high, at the same time power is also high. They are more concerning about the business activities, at the same time they have enough power also. That's why they are call it as key player. So we have to give more attention on them when we are dealing with them. Then what is the second thing associated with Mendelov matrix? Identify the appropriate strategy in dealing with each stakeholder party. If you look at about the appropriate strategy, what is the best strategy for category A? Are they important from organizational point of view? No. They are not much important. Why they are not much important? Because their level of interest is low, at the same time their power is also low. Therefore, what will be the best strategy in dealing with them? The minimum effort. We don't want to put much effort in dealing with them. So, minimal effort will be the most appropriate strategy. Then if you look at the category B, so their power is low but their interest is high. Since their interest is high, it is better to inform whatever you do to them. Therefore, the appropriate strategy is keep informed. Category C, their level of interest is low but power is high. You have to manage them very carefully. Why? At any time they can increase their interest and can move to the category D. Therefore, the appropriate strategy is keep satisfy. You have to satisfy their requirement. Then category D, we consider them as the most important group. That's why we call them as key player, since their level of interest and power both are high. So, what will be the appropriate strategy? Whatever you do should be acceptable to the category D. So, acceptable is the appropriate strategy. Acceptable is the appropriate strategy. So, key players, acceptable, segment C kept satisfied, segment B kept informed, segment A minimal effort. So, now with the theoretical background, we will try to address the requirement given in the question also. Now look at the questions. Now we know the requirement. Assess the power and interest of the different stakeholder group who are likely to be affected by the takeover bid. So we have to look at about their power and the interest, whether power is low, high, and whether interest is low or high, and put into that 4 group. So we look at about the scenario given. OD company is in the business of designing, manufacturing and retailing outdoor equipment. OD company is in the business of designing, manufacturing and retailing outdoor equipment, including hiking boots, rucksacks, tent and other associated products. The company's headquarters, including its manufacturing function, is in LM Town, where it is one of the major employers. It also has a chain of 25 retail shops in country A. Now look at that para. So what type of business they are in? They are in the business of designing, manufacturing and retailing outdoor equipment, including hiking boots, rucksacks, tents and other associated products. Their headquarters plus the manufacturing function in the LM Town, where they consider as one of the major employers. It also has a chain of 25 retail shops in country A. Right. The company is still owned by its founder J, who has been hugely successful in building up the OD brand. Who is the founder member? J, which now has global recognition. J has recently received a takeover bid from Mrs. company, which is based in another country. Right. Now, he is giving more information. He say that this owner, founder owner, J has received a bid to acquire this company. Who has given the bid? Is a company that is in another country. This company is particularly interested in buying the brand and design capability OD company. The bid was accepted. Then said company would close down the manufacturing activity in LM Town. So manufacturing function in the LM Town, and would outsource this to other part of the world where production and labor costs are significantly lower. They are going to close down the manufacturing activity. This would mean a loss of over 800 jobs in LM Town, and the trade union has already stated it will fight any job cuts. J is contemplating whether or not he should accept the bid. Right, what is our requirement here? Assess the power and interest of the different stakeholder group who are likely to be affected by the takeover bid. Who are the group members? What about the founder J? Yes, he will be the number one affected party. He has received the bid. If you put J into that Mendelov matrix, where we can put J, where we can put him under this Mendelov matrix? What about his interest? Interest is high. What about the power? Power is also high. So he can be considered as a key player, category D. So whatever the proposal should be acceptable to him, otherwise he will not allow this to take place. He is the guy who is going to take the decisions. So it should be acceptable to him. He is considered as a category D group. Who has given the bid? SL4 company. What about their interest on this activity? High. What about their power? Power should be also high. They may be established company. Therefore, SL4 company, maybe the board of the SL4 company can be also be put under the key player group. Now, the next thing is, what they are going to do? They are going to close down the manufacturing activities in M town. Then employees in the manufacturing function will be badly affected. Why? They are going to lose their jobs. If you look at about the individual employee, where you can put this individual employee under stakeholder mapping? What about their level of interest? Should be high. Level of interest should be high. What about the power? Power is low. If you look at about the individual employee, their interest is high since they depend on the company, they get the salary and other benefit from the company. But as individual one person, they don't have much power to influence. Therefore, individual employee can be considered under category B. But remember, they can increase their power. How can they increase the power? What they can do, they can work with a union. There may be existing unions, they can become a member of that. Through that, they can influence the organizations. If they join a union and influence, in that scenario, what happened? In addition to high level of interest, they are going to have high level of power also as a union member. In that scenario, they can become a key player. Therefore, you have to carefully treat these individual employees. Then what about this town? This organization is a major employer. If they close down manufacturing function, this particular town will be affected. The members, community members may not be happy, public may not be happy on this, since they are going to lose some income from these organizations. Therefore, what about if you look at about general public, where we can put these general public members? They may be category B, because individual member, their interest is high about this organization, but their power is low. But if they together and influence government, for example, Pradesh Sabha or urban council on this particular decisions, if they get together, in that scenario, they may become a key player even. Therefore, it's better to treat them with care also. Right. So, we identify few key stakeholders and we try to put them into Mendelov matrix. We will check the examiner answer also, whether we can get more from his answer. Right. Look at this power and interest of stakeholders. In considering whether to accept the takeover bid, they must identify the key stakeholder group and weight up their respective level of power and interest. So, then the theory aspect, he explained what is Mendelov matrix little bit and draw matrix. This analysis could be usefully employed by OD company when considering how to deal with its stakeholders. This analysis could be usefully employed by OD company when considering how to deal with its stakeholders. Key players are found in segment D. The takeover must be acceptable to them. At least J, the owner, fall into this category. Yes. Because his power is high, interest is also high. So, we identify the same. He has significant power in making the decision and significant interest. His interest will be in the money he stand to make from the takeover bid, but this may well not be the only considerations. Assuming he is a good employer, he will be aware of the responsibility he has toward other stakeholders such as his employees and the wider community. Then another group he has identified, the board of ZZ group, we also identify the same, which is making the takeover bid, probably belong in segment D. They naturally have a high interest in the outcome, which would give them access to the brand and design capability of OD company, and it is likely that they have a lot of power in terms of the money they can offer. Yes, we identify them in the same group. Stakeholder in the segment B do not have great ability to influence strategy, but their view can be important in influencing more powerful stakeholders, perhaps by lobbying, that means get together. Employees in the manufacturing function fall into this category. Yes, they clearly have a high interest in the whether bid is acceptable, since they stand to lose their jobs. As individuals, they have little power to influence the decisions, but collectively they may well do, since they could lobby the local council of LM town and draw negative publicity. Yes, we identify the same, their interest is high, but their power is low. But if they work with the union, they can increase their power. In conjunction with the trade union, manufacturing employees begin to move into segment D. High interest, high power. Trade union have a strong interest in the outcome of the bid to which they are opposed and could organize employees into taking industrial actions. This would have a damaging effect on the production and goodwill, and could even put the bidder off. Yes, trade union is high power, high interest. Then employees in the design or retail function, design or retail function have high level of interest, although not quite as high as those in manufacturing, because their job are not necessarily as stake, because they are not going to sell this design and retail function, no. Therefore, their job is secured. Nevertheless, they will have a new owner set which is based in another country and could will bring in different working practices and different style of management, as they have relatively little power to influence the decisions. They belong in segment B. Yes, individually their interest is high, but their power is low. Similar to the production employee, what they can do, they can get together with union, through that they can increase their power. In conjunction with the trade union, who would likely protest any detrimental changes to working arrangement, they would acquire more power. In conjunction with the trade union, who would likely protest any detrimental changes to working arrangement, they would acquire more power. Yes, we identify the same scenario. Another segment B category consists of the current domestic supply of OD company. We didn't find that one. Another party is there. High interest and low power, that is supplier. He is also going to lose the business. His power is low, but interest is high. If the bid goes ahead, they will lose business to overseas suppliers. How strong an interest they have depend on whether OD is a major customer. A well diversified supplier might belong in segment A of the matrix, low interest, low power. If the supply is very strong one, in that scenario their interest may be low, not high. Finally, OD company is a major employee in LM town, and the local community is therefore stakeholder in segment B, high interest, low power. The local community include families of those losing their jobs, since members of the community can improve the reputation of OD company by causing negative publicity, lobbying the media and politicians. Their view should not be discounted. Yes, we have to look at about their view also. The final decision is with J, but he should not make it without due consideration to all the stakeholder group. It's a well developed answer. With that, we can complete question number 10 also. Right.